Hi everyone, you're watching Biology with Inshara, and in today's video we are going to talk about cells. We will be discussing what is a cell and the different types of cells and the different organelles that are found in both an animal cell and in a plant cell. And then we will then be discussing the organization of life, which means how different cells combine to form a tissue and how different tissues combine to form an organ, and how different organs work together in an organ system, and how an organ system allows an organism to remain healthy and stay alive. Now, before I get to that, the first question that I have for you is, what do you understand by the word cell? Now, whenever you hear the word cell, you must first understand that cell is the basic unit of life, or the basic building block of life. Now, there are two main types of cell. We have the animal cell and the plant cell, and there are some differences and some similarities between the two types of cells. Now, in the next slide, you will see that it is written that cells are the basic building blocks of life, or the basic unit of a living organism, and the types of cells, and that they are made up of even smaller structures called organelles. Now, organelles are complex structures that have their own individual function, and there are various organelles found in a cell. For instance, we have the cell membrane, cytoplasm, and the nucleus, and we also have the chloroplast, which is only present in the plant cell. And then we also have the mitochondria, which is present in both the plant cell and in the animal cell. Now, if you look at the screen, you will see that there is a picture about the animal cell and the plant cell and their structure. Now, this is a simplified diagram in which you will see that the nucleus, cell membrane, and the cytoplasm is present along with a few other organelles. But in the upcoming slide, there will be a far more complex picture, and in there we will discuss the complex and much more organelles, including their respective function and why are they in that particular shape, or what is their function and how are they specialized. Now, if you see the screen in front of you, there is a new picture of an animal cell and a plant cell. Now, this is a complex diagram as it is showing many more organelles that are found in both the animal cell and in the plant cell. So we will first be discussing the organelles that are found in both the animal cell and in the plant cell. Now, the first organelle would be the nucleus, which is the control center of the cell. Now, the nucleus controls the cell activities that occur in the cell. As imagine that the nucleus is like the leader of the cell, giving instructions to the various organelles as to what they should be doing, just like a leader of a group who gives instructions to every individual as to what they should be doing. The nucleus also contains the genetic information called chromosomes. Now, after the nucleus, we then have the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is a jelly-like substance in which the metabolic or the chemical reactions occur, and this is also where all the organelles are tightly held in their position due to the thick consistency. The cytoplasm is mostly composed of water, sugar, ions, and amino acids. After the cytoplasm, we have the cell membrane. Now, there are many names for the cell membrane. You can also call it the plasma membrane or the cell surface membrane. Now, we say that the cell membrane is either partially permeable, selectively permeable, or semi-permeable. Now, they all mean the same, as what this means is that the cell membrane controls the both entry and exit of certain substances into and out of the cell. It controls what substances enter or exit the cell, but note that those substances are very specific, as that what the word semi-permeable means. After that, we then have the other complex organelles. But before we move to that, you must first understand that the cytoplasm and the nucleus and the cell membrane are a part of a name called the protoplasm, which means the living part or the living content of the cell. Now, the protoplasm is present in both the animal cell and in the plant cell, along with a few other organelles that I'm going to discuss now. Now, the other organelle is the mitochondria, as you can see in the picture in front of you. The mitochondria is where the process called respiration takes place, which is a process by which energy is given out in the form of ATP, also known as adenosine triphosphate. Now, what happens is that glucose is oxidized or broken down by oxygen to release energy. And that energy is needed for the cell organelles to perform various activities in order to maintain or sustain life. After the mitochondria, we then have the ribosomes. Now, if you look closely, then there are two types of ribosomes: the ones which lie freely within the cytoplasm and the ones that are attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Now, the ones that lie freely within the cytoplasm, they make proteins under the supervision of a chemical called DNA, also known as deoxyribonucleic acid, found in the nucleus. And same goes for the ribosomes that are attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum, or the rough ER. And if you see, then they both have the same function. They both make proteins under the supervision of the nucleus. Now, the rough endoplasmic reticulum does nothing but provide a pathway for the proteins that are made by the ribosomes that are attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum, as you can see in the picture. And then those proteins are then transported to the Golgi apparatus, or also known as a Golgi body, in spherical structures called Golgi vesicles, which do nothing but act as a transport system to transport different substances around the cell. For instance, the proteins made by the ribosomes in the rough ER are transported to the Golgi apparatus, or Golgi body, in the Golgi vesicles. And the Golgi vesicles are spherical in structure and are small, and can also be used outside of the cell for transportation. Now, what the Golgi apparatus or Golgi body does is that it chemically modifies the substances made by the ribosomes in the rough ER, and then those chemically modified substances are sent out of the cell so that they can be used by the other cells. Moving on, we then have the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, which is the continuation of the rough endoplasmic reticulum. You can see that the rough endoplasmic reticulum has bead-like structures attached to it called ribosomes, which give it a rather rough appearance. And the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, as you can tell from the name, has a rather smooth appearance as it has no ribosomes attached to it. Now, both the rough ER and the smooth ER are found near the nucleus, and the smooth ER is a continuation of the rough ER. Now, the smooth ER performs a process called detoxification, which is a process by which harmful substances are converted into harmless substances, and it also plays a role in making steroids and fats. Moving on, we are now going to talk about the structures that are only found in a plant cell and never in an animal cell. Now, the first structure would be the cell wall. As you can see in the picture, a cell wall is only present in a plant cell and never in an animal cell. The cell wall is made up of a type of sugar which is called a polysaccharide, or you can also call it a complex sugar called cellulose. Now, this structure, this type of sugar, cellulose, is very strong, rigid, hard, and flexible. And the cell wall maintains the shape of a plant cell, protects it from any sort of injury or harm, and also supports it. Next, we have the chloroplast. Now, the chloroplast is quite huge, as it can be easily viewed under the microscope, and it contains a green pigment called chlorophyll, which absorbs light energy from the sun along with carbon dioxide taken up from the leaves, and with water taken up from the roots, in a process called photosynthesis, in which food is made for all living organisms on the planet. Okay, so just to summarize, a process called photosynthesis takes place in the chloroplast of all green plants, and the pigment called chlorophyll is what gives a plant cell its green color. And then after the chloroplast, we then have the vacuole, also called the sap vacuole. Now, in a plant cell, vacuoles are large and permanent, and they're always in the middle, and they contain a liquid called cell sap, which contains dissolved mineral salts, ions, sugar, amino acids, and even water and other stored materials. Note that vacuoles are always present in a plant cell and they're permanent. However, they may also be found in an animal cell, but in the case here, you won't be able to find a vacuole in the animal cell, and that's because in animal cells, vacuoles are small and they're temporary, and they also contain dissolved food and water. Okay? Now that we have successfully discussed the various organelles found in both an animal cell and in a plant cell, and even the special organelles that are only found in a plant cell and their respective functions, in the slide here in front of you, you will see that I've written down the functions of those organelles for your ease, and I've also made it very clear about the organelles that are only found in a plant cell and some extra information.